Hello everyone and welcome back to episode of the month. This is the show where at the end of every month or the beginning of every month, depending on what time I'm releasing it, we look back at the month that was and I talk about the best episode of television that came out in that month. March of 2022 was surprisingly full of good stuff. Mainly because Apple dropped a lot of cool things, Paramount dropped some stuff, Disney dropped some stuff, and they're all okay and pretty good and stuff like that. I did enjoy that, but there was one show that was kind of reaching its finale this year that I really just enjoyed, and that was the season 4 finale of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. Now, I've talked about this show almost extensively on this channel. I wanted to talk about this episode in particular because I think it's very important and a very cool story that I just really enjoy. Anybody who kind of does this for a living, where you talk to people, where you express opinion and thought, and you maybe run the gamut of saying something a little bit controversial or have a changing in opinion that people might not agree with, you are probably a fan or you know of the man Lenny Bruce. He's an influential person in terms of comedy. He's an influential person in terms of just personality. And he's very important to the overall idea of entertainment where you can say what you want and have your piece and do whatever you want to say. Well, we have seen him appearing here and there in The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, but in the season 4 finale, we finally get the big moment that the show's been building to. We actually get two, which I think are very important. And I could focus on a lot of the other stuff this episode. There's some great stuff with Moish and Abe coming together with Joel and Rose. All of that works really well. And it makes this episode very strong. Susie gets a lot of play too. Everything about this episode is so good, so spectacular, and it feels like we're reaching the climactic ending of this show, which is something I do enjoy to see, and I do like that. And I love all the stuff. The stuff with Moish was hilarious, and it works really well, and Abe had some great stuff to play with too. All of it was cool, and all of it worked really well. But one of the big things about this episode is we're finally getting that payoff that we've been setting up pretty much since the first episode of this show. The first episode of The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Midge gets locked up, and she is in jail with Lenny Bruce. They start a kinship, she frees him, and essentially they become quote-unquote friends throughout the rest of the show. From the beginning, and I think it's just because she's an expressive woman, he's an expressive guy, there's the kinship and the idea of the romantic tanglements coming up. We know that, we've seen that from the beginning. And the show did a good job just like subverting the idea of these two being together. We saw that in one of the other seasons where it's like they have the moment where they could do it, but they don't. Well, now they're at that point in their life where it's time to do that. And this is really important. It's something I think kind of gets lost, especially in the format of the romantic relationship. Payoff happens all the time on screen and in film and in television. You see it everywhere. There's always your big payoff. And when it comes to like the romantic payoff, you have to do it right. And I think one of the things we saw really well that was really clear from the beginning of this payoff was Midge wants to be taken in a certain way. She doesn't care how this night goes. She's like, I want you just to see me as the comedian I am. I don't want you to see me as anything else. Just remember that I am still funny. Whatever we do, I'm still funny. Which is very in character for her. I think it worked really incredibly well because we want these two to be together. We all ultimately know what's going to happen with Lenny. If the show actually goes that route, I don't know. But we know where that story's going. But we just like the chemistry between these two, and it works really well for this show. I think that moment is so powerful where they're in the hotel room and you just see like, this is it. This is literally what we've been building to for the past 4 seasons. This is the romantic relationship we knew was coming. We didn't know how it was going to play out, and it was so powerful and so beautiful and worked so incredibly well for what this show is trying to do. I did really like that, and it worked. It just worked. Because that's how you do the payoff. It is quiet, it is subtle, it is like we are finally at this moment where we know these two are going to be together, and they have to be together for the story to advance because that's what's coming up. Also, what happens in this episode is we see Lenny's going to do Carnegie Hall, which is the big show that everyone wants to do. You have to be in there to get successful. And at least there's some great moments where you just see like, yeah, he's good at his job, and it's fantastic to see what this guy is capable of. But I cannot get over, I'm still thinking about this from when the episode came out. The final, I want to say maybe 5 to 10 to 15 minutes of this episode, where you just see every ideology that Lenny Bruce is saying, And I think it is just so important to anybody who does that or this or anything in regards to entertainment. The point is, say your truth, but do the work. You can't, just pussyfoot around actually getting stuff done. You have to put in the time. You have to put in the effort. You have to do the shows you don't want to. You don't just go to Carnegie Hall right away. You can say what you want, and you can risk the challenge of what's coming with that. But you have to do the right thing. You have to put in the time. You have to get there and do what this job requires of you. I love that he is saying this to Midge, and he's just like, do you think I'm proud that almost every show I get arrested, or people come to see me just because I'm getting arrested? This is my job, and I do love this. And it scares me to see that this is how people react to me and how people view me. It's terrifying. I don't like it. But this is what it's for. If you want to do this, you have to do the rest of it. And when you just see him just looking on that stage, showing Miriam everything in the room, you're like, this is why we do it. This is why we strive for these things. This is why we are comedians, because this is what it's about. And sometimes you have to take the hit, you have to get knocked down to get back up again, and you have to find the way to do this the right way. It is such a powerful moment. I will not do it justice by saying it. If you are not going to watch the show, at least watch that last scene, because if you do anything in entertainment, if you are a personality in any form of the word, it's one of those moments where you're just like, that's it. That's how you do it. Like, you have to take the risks, and the risks are going to come with these things that are going to put the audience or the opposition against you. But sometimes take the hit. Sometimes it will get you to Carnegie Hall. Sometimes you just play the show, and sometimes you just get there. It's a beautiful finale. And it's a beautiful wrap up to that part of the story, because that's the payoff. We know where Lenny's going. This is our big moment to see the guy wasn't bad. He had his hiccups. He made some mistakes, but he's getting through it. And I think we're going to see some subversion of history in season 5, where maybe we see Miriam kind of saves Lenny in a sense, and we see it like a different turn of history for that. But that is a strong finale, a strong interpretation of the ideology of being an entertainer, and a great way is to pay off this big romantic entanglement that these two have been on the collision course for, because they are two strong personalities that love each other and know each other well. We knew it was coming. The fact that it was here in the right moment when the world needed this to happen, I'm very glad it did, and it just makes for some incredible television with a stellar performance of Lenny Bruce. Amazing. Very well done. And that is why it is my episode of the month for March 2022. Thank you guys for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me out on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And as always, I will catch you guys in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.